You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Glee After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Glee After Show.
'Cause in the end we have each other, and that's at least
It was like, this was one of the best performances of the night.
I mean, I think we were all dancing to it. But we should introduce ourselves and say that Bing is for doing, and we're here doing another Glee After Show. I can't believe it. We're to episode 12, halfway through the season. And the episode is called Naked, and if you saw the show, you know why. Lots of nakedness going on.
A lot of nudity, a lot of skin.
Yes.
We tried to convince Steven over here to be naked in honor of the episode, but...
No, you didn't. I would have totally been naked right now, otherwise.
Yes. Well, we should also introduce ourselves. I'm Stephanie Wenger.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marisa Serafini.
And I am Sarah Mendoza.
I mean, it would have been really fun to have Steven naked to begin the episode, but we'll take it for
It actually would have probably been very dangerous.
We could have.
I don't think Sarah could stay in her seat.
I mean,
I think I would leave. No.
Oh.
You know, I have to work with Steven, so, you know, I don't want to cross that line.
Yeah, you can't cross that line.
No.
But tomorrow morning we would definitely wake up and our downloads would be huge because
Through the
everyone
roof.
would hear about it. It would be a grapevine of...
AFTERBUZZ could move into RedTube.
Oh, no. No.
Well, but then we'd have to get those cool, like, sensor bars all over, you know.
I could just use
Moving on. Moving on.
Marissa doesn't want to picture it anymore.
Marissa's like disturbed and what have you.
Oh, the song's still playing.
But we should definitely get into the episode here. And
Naked.
Naked. Why the show was called Naked tonight, though, there were lots of reasons, actually. But the first one was that, once again, the Glee Club is struggling with their finances, and they were looking for a way to make money to go to nationals now that...
Regionals.
Excuse me, regionals. And looking for ways to make money to go to regionals. And Finn came up with the idea to have a Men of McKinley calendar. Or was it Finn's idea? It was actually...
No, it was Tina's.
It was Tina's idea, but Finn was looking for ideas.
Right. Well, first of all, Warblers are out of the game, which is why they're back in regionals.
Right.
And now they're trying to, as Stephanie said, raise the money to get there. They need the bus fare to get out there to compete.
Bus fare and like a hotel and all those things that come up when you're doing school competitions, for sure.
And Finn's idea of a baked goods sale is not ringing so well with everybody.
Well, I think everyone does bake sales, though, so they wanted to switch it up, do something new.
And there's also kind of a maximum that you can make with a bake sale. I don't know, at least when I was in school, it's like $50 and you're kind of out, like done, finished. So I thought this Men of McKinley idea was Tina, who is obviously in love with Blaine, and we'll talk about that in a little bit some more here, but totally in love with Blaine, and she was like, I want to see him shirtless, so let's get all the guys shirtless. And I don't know, I love the idea of it. I don't know that it was necessarily executed. I wanted to see kind of more of the shoot of the calendar, and just, I don't know, it was interesting.
Well, I thought it was just a hilarious idea to begin with. You know, like, who would think, hey guys, let's put together a calendar with all of us half naked and sell them to the student body, pictures of our bodies, so that we can get money.
It was definitely a fun idea, but I wasn't sure, like, how a public school would accept that kind of concept.
I was just about to say, I went to public high school, and that would have never flown at my high school.
That would not fly.
And also at a normal high school, the Glee kids are not usually that hot, and nobody would buy that calendar. So there was a lot of kind of.
That's unfortunate.
Maybe I
they
am
are the
being
outcasts.
Yeah, they are. They're supposedly the outcasts of the school, right? So, lucky for McKinley, they've got some hot Gleeks or Gleesters.
Yeah.
That can actually sell these calendars, but in real life that would probably not happen, right?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because it was definitely this calendar brought up some body image issues for the guys, and I think we've seen Glee deal with the girl body image issues throughout this season and also in the past with Quinn and Rachel, and this season obviously Marley has been dealing with an eating disorder, but the guys, Artie, who is obviously handicapped in a wheelchair, he doesn't want to show his body off, and I thought that was interesting because I knew guys in high school who definitely had issues with the way they looked and things like that.
Yeah, and it's you don't naturally think that men have to deal with that because it's something that is pegged more so on women because they have, you know, the standards of how models look like in the magazines and on television, and there's so much pressure to look like that skinny, womanly model.
Yeah.
Now with men, it's more so a focus on being, you know, tough and big and built and buff and play sports, but not really, there's no like need to say be skinny or something like that.
No, I think it's a different standard, but there are definitely still, I guess you can say, standards that guys want to achieve.
And I like how Artie was the one who brought up the self-conscious awareness, you know, that he's not comfortable literally in his own skin, and I think that, you know, speaks volumes in for a lot of teenagers, because they are teenagers in high school, because it's not just the females, they are all teenagers, and they have all these emotions and teen angst and body images, so I liked how he spoke for the men's perspective.
Yeah, and Sam also kind of showed his insecurity in a different way. He was overcompensating for, you know, feeling insecure about other parts of his life, so he worked out all the time, and it's Blaine who sits him down and says, you know, it's okay, you don't have to work out every day, it's okay if your body fat percentage is a little higher.
It's 7%, which is really good.
I mean, 7% is
amazing,
intense, for sure. So I thought that was like a sweet moment between, because I feel like this crush that Blaine has could get a little awkward, and he's actually being a supportive friend through it all.
Right. And Sam is open to that friendship, and he obviously cares about Blaine's opinion and sees that this is a friend who really cares about him throughout this challenge that he's going through right now.
I completely agree, and I just feel like it was interesting because Brittany apparently tests very well, which was a surprise to me. She did very well on her SATs, like a 2340, I believe I wrote down, which is higher than you could possibly get when I was in high school, but that probably dates me. And then Sam obviously struggles and got a 340, which is very low, like your name.
Monkeys do better than that.
Love that quote too.
It's so funny because Brittany was saying how she kind of was like, well, I filled out some A's and then some B's and then some D's and then back to A. So she would kind of just guess her way through the test, but yet here she's scored really high. So
didn't we all know that kid in high school who was like, I put a pattern down on the SATs?
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, that's great.
What did she say that she drew? It was like something
a penis. Penis shape.
Something lovely and inappropriate. Very Glee.
Very Britney-like.
Yes.
But there was that one episode, I want to say it's like season 2 or 3, where there was the one small segment where there was a bunch of trivia questions. She was answering all of them correctly and like just off the top of her head. So I do kind of think somewhere in her crazy brain that she is actually really intelligent. She just doesn't show it in the correct way.
Yeah. And I also felt like it was interesting to have Sam kind of realize that he has potential outside of the SATs, and that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with in high school. And it's definitely Blaine who like brings him to the guidance counselor and shows him that not all schools require SAT scores, and that you can, and how much he's done. And it was the sweetest video. When all the Glee Club members kind of talk about what makes Sam special.
Right. And I think we all tend to do that. We're so focused on the lack of one thing in our lives, or how we want to do this one thing better, and we forget about all the other things and blessings that we have through that process. And sometimes you kind of have to have your friends or family sit you down and say, hey, really be grateful for all this other stuff you have, and it'll take care of itself as long as you're trying your best and you're putting in the work. And Sam was caught up in that in this episode because of this one thing that he wanted, right?
Yeah, it's true. You can so easily get caught up and these characters. I think Glee did a great job tonight. It felt like a return in some ways to earlier seasons of dealing with real emotion and kind of those struggles that you really do go through in high school. But we should also talk about iTunes, and that you can go on, and if you enjoy our conversation, enjoy our guests, you can rate and comment, and we love looking at it. It helps us improve our shows, and I think we have over 50 shows. Am I right, Stephen?
60 now.
We have like 60 this week, or coming up next week.
Woo, okay, so 60. It's every week, I swear, it gets more and more, which is crazy. But you can go on iTunes, tell a friend about it, let us know what you think. We love reading your comments, and I know I always like responding to them as well, so it's fun. And then we got a lot of McKinley tonight, but we also had New York, and Rachel dealing with her own naked problems. Every character had naked problems tonight. Right. Rachel, I guess, is auditioning for a student film, and of course in the student film they want her to be topless, and she really debates it and thinks like, this is the right choice for me as an artist, but everyone has to weigh in, with Brody, her new guy who's living with them, which is just hilarious, and it's alright. I can't wait to see more of that. We got a taste of it tonight, that there's going to be definite drama in that house.
It's just so apparent how much Rachel has broke free from the Rachel that she was at McKinley. I mean, we see that struggle when she thinks about doing things that are new and bold, like being topless in a student film, but you can see that there's still that doubt, which reminds you of the Rachel from before. Absolutely. And we'll talk about the performances later, but it was even more evident in the performance where Torn, which we'll talk about later, but there's just such a big difference from the girl she was to the woman that she's becoming now.
And the woman that she is, because the new Rachel would definitely say yes to being naked in this production.
Yeah, we've kind of seen her find her, for lack of a better term, like sexy side this season, and you never got any of that in the old Rachel at McKinley. There was very little. She kind of was sexy with Finn in their alone time, but never really out in the open.
I feel like the New York Rachel, she's just more likely to throw caution to the wind, and do something like that. Yeah, let's take off my shirt for this film, get my face and my tatas out there, I guess, and get some attention. Yeah. Whereas Rachel from before, she was a lot more, I guess maybe you can describe her as calculated. Like, she would think about every single little thing that she was doing and plan out her life, and not just do something on a whim like that.
Yeah, well, the old Rachel still had a lot of insecurities, she wasn't comfortable in her own skin back then either, but now this new Rachel in New York, she's finding herself, and she's even telling herself, you can do this, you are better, and like, she still has that pep talk to herself that she is growing, and she does realize like her attributes now.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about how Brody showed his support in this episode. He walks out from the bedroom in his birthday suit,
and yes, he was one of the true naked moments tonight. I definitely had this thought when we were watching the show that maybe the episode should have been called Shirtless, not Naked, because we got a lot of shirtless, not so much naked tonight, but
partial nudity.
But Brody was was that definition.
Yeah, Brody went for it for sure. Definitely interesting to see kind of how they manage that on a network show as well.
They did that. It reminded me of. Did you guys watch the first Austin Powers movie.
Or all the Austin
where
Powers
the
movies.
fruit is like covering the private parts and whatever,
Right.
who knows what else objects. But it was kind of like that, where the milk carton was blocking that section.
Yes.
And I thought it was so funny because when Rachel came out, after he came out, did you see her reach for the banana on the table? I was like, well, that's like a euphemism for something.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's the world of Ryan Murphy right there. I feel
Right.
like he's so good at that, and there's all these little comments that just
Right.
you're like, oh, and Sue tonight as well, just bringing up these little comments, and you're just like, oh, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
And Kurt,
Brody did say that he was comfortable in his
it's
with
obvious.
his body, so
Yeah, and he was
That's
the
why
one
he went
who
all out.
supported Rachel through it, and was saying that she should do this. And what did you guys think? Did you want to see her take it all off, or
No.
were you, I mean, maybe not see is the wrong word, but do you think that's the right call?
I think this is the right call. I didn't think she was gonna do it. I mean, she's Rachel. You saw her at the beginning of the episode. She was struggling, and even then, you can tell like she wasn't comfortable. So I didn't think she was gonna go through it.
Well, you know, I in the end, I didn't think she would go through it, as Marisa said, but I could see why she would be exploring that idea, you know, especially with this new life. And she's trying so hard to break free from the innocence of, you know, who she was before. And then when, Santana and Quinn came to kind of step in,
Yeah, absolutely.
and you know, from Kurt's request to bring her out of that and say, hey girl, you're gonna be making a mistake if you start posing topless. I like their 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 rule.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that was
two.
good.
So when Quinn and Santana visit, they talk about 2 days. Are you going to regret the decision in 2 days? And then I think it was 2 weeks, and then
2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years.
Yes.
So how are you gonna feel about posing topless in 2 weeks? And
And
she was like, oh,
I've definitely used that bar
Yeah.
before, that 2-2-2 rule.
Right.
It's definitely something to think about when you're making those big decisions. I agree with you guys, though, that I didn't want to see her pose naked or act, you know, shirtless, because also, as a Finchel fan, you noticed that back at McKinley when Finn was talking to Artie about not wanting to pose for the calendar, he was like, some things should be private, and I felt that was definitely kind of a reference to, maybe he wasn't thinking of Rachel, but it felt
Yeah.
to me like she made the right call for that relationship
Right.
as well, and that's all I want.
the
is them back
message spoke
together.
to her situation. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I should mention also that Artie and Sam both end up posing with shirts on for the calendar, which I thought was an adorable ending to that storyline. And I forgot
Yeah,
to
Yeah, they
mention
had
it.
costumes.
Yeah.
And
They
I
covered most of their bodies.
Yes. Most of their bodies.
and the
Majority.
reasoning was very for me, it was very powerful of Sam and how much he cares about Artie, because he did it for Artie so that he wouldn't feel so alone
yeah.
in the situation.
I love how supportive the Glee Club is of each other, and that's again back to New York with Santana and Quinn. They're finally saying, like, we're doing this for you, Rachel. Like, this is not the time for you to pose topless, or to be topless. I shouldn't say pose. It's not
For
a-
a student film,
Yeah.
you shouldn't.
I mean, a student film is very fun to be in. I think we've all done it, but it's
yes, I was a student,
yeah.
you know, film major, and yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
but
they
it's
can
not
be
the
messy,
time to
so,
get naked.
yeah,
It's
no.
just not.
It's gonna be out there forever, like Santana was saying. Like, Google her name, and that
has
tape
her.
that
Yeah,
she had
exactly.
made before is still up there, and you
Right.
can't take it down.
Especially in this generation, anything you do is forever. We always talk about, like, tweets, everything is forever, and I think that that's an important thing to consider.
Even this AfterBuzz show is forever on
It
the web.
is
You know?
forever.
The internet is forever.
Glad we're here doing it.
Glad we did not do this naked today.
I mean, way to get internet.
Well, the
hits.
show's not over yet.
Yes, exactly. The ending.
I think it'd be fun to do one of these shows and just pretend that we're naked the whole time. For everyone who only listens and doesn't watch, your
Right.
your YouTube
Use
views
your
would be
imagination.
out of the
I know.
world.
And we'll be wearing like big like potato sacks or whatever.
How great would it be to, like, a puffy jacket and just be like full on, like, Blizzard gear, and you were like, but we're naked, Blizzard gear. And I just loved seeing Quinn, Santana, and Rachel back together. They're
So did I. It was so great having like the three main core. Well, Brittany was obviously missing from that group, but like all of them together in New York.
Yeah.
It was great watching.
And Santana said she might be getting used to that town, so maybe it means we're gonna see more of her.
Yes,
Yeah.
She moves there.
I would love that. I don't feel like we've gotten enough of Santana this season.
I still think she's gonna go to New York because we saw at the end of season 3 she wanted to go to New York. That money that her mother gave her for college, and she's still sitting on it. So.
I know, it's true. I want more. I feel like we could have 2 hours of Glee every week and literally be able to see all the characters, because every few weeks I'm like, what happened to that character? What's going on? I need their story.
There's so many now.
There's
It's
so
like
many.
two different pods.
Doubled.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I feel like 2 hours is not out of the question for the show at all. But if you love our mugs and feel like you want to go and get one of your own, I love our mugs. I can tell you that. And we have cute ones with little spoons as well. So you should go on to our website, AFTERBUZZTV.com, and check out everything we have. We have a new AfterBuzz store, right, Marisa?
Yes, with merchandising. We have shirts and bags and
Yes.
baby onesies.
I mean, onesies, I feel
We
like
have onesies.
all my friends with kids, I need to like pile them up and be like, look, there's so many, it's awesome. So that's very fun to go on, check it out. And we should get back to Glee. And I don't know how I feel about this Finchel 2.0 experience, Jake and Marley. How are we feeling? Adorable, not so good?
I loved it tonight.
Yeah.
Absolutely adorable.
I think they're a very sweet couple, because it's evident that Marley influences Jake in a very positive way. And I feel like we talk about this all the time, but he started off as a different person when he was first introduced to the audience in Glee. He was a little bit more like his older brother Puck.
Yeah, it's true.
The bad boy.
He was definitely in the shadow of Puck and kind of following in his footsteps. And now we're getting to see kind of a very, very sweet side of him. This was the first night where I felt like he didn't have Kitty on the side. It was really all about Marley, and that was a nice switch for me.
And he's not like this loud, like, player type of athlete dude anymore. He's kind of an understated character that, he's just there for Marley. I feel like he's kind of a side note to Marley and all her wonderfulness on the show.
Yeah.
And he also had a wingman. Blake was really a bro tonight to him too, and supporting Marley and Jake in that relationship.
Yeah, Ryder and I really like the
Blake. Yes, Ryder.
Ryder and
Blake
Marley, or Ryder and Jake rather. They're an interesting one because they were fighting for the same girl, and now they're kind of forging this true friendship, and I like that. I think that it's kind of reminds me again of the Finn and Puck friendship. There's definitely parallels in the new directions, if that makes sense. Yes.
Right.
And I also just love the fact that they had a whole thing about I love you tonight, which I think in high school you discuss with your friends rather than necessarily telling the person first, which is a funny thing to do, but I feel like we've all been there where
you got to figure out ways to say I love you in the nice, correct manner.
Moment, exactly. It's all about the moment, and I think Marley realized at first she was gonna tell him, and then she was like, oh, I love the song, and we'll talk about the song in a little while, but she couldn't tell him, and she was just like, I love the song, and I was just like, oh, such a cop-out, but I understand. And then we finally see him, he's like, I just love her and I want to be with her, and he tells her, he gets her a calendar, a Men of McKinley calendar, and writes it on his page, I love you, and I was just like, oh, sweet. so cute.
So cheesy, honestly, but cute at the same time.
I'm
But
glad
it wasn't
Sarah
like-
can bring some realism to
Yes.
this.
But if some guy did that to me, I would have been like, really?
Oh, see, I think
Thank you for
Glee.
signing your abs.
I think now I would be like, really? But back in high school, I would have been like, this is the sweetest thing that's anyone's ever done.
That's true. That's true. Being in the mindset of, where they're at.
Any
Yeah.
16-year-old would be over the moon with that.
Yeah.
So
What month was he?
He was in one of the summer months. He was like a beach.
Oh, then
yeah.
he should have written it down there and made her use the calendar like she should have, and then he wouldn't have had to say I love you for another 6 months.
But she would have probably dumped him by then, waiting for that, you know?
When you said
But
it.
knowing her, she would have already flipped to that page when she got home.
It was also like on the tip of their tongues the entire episode.
Yeah, they wanted to say it to each other.
I mean, and I think the audience would have been really frustrated, or I would have been really frustrated if they had made us hold out for another episode. But I'm excited to see where their relationship goes. I think it's going to be kind of that big Glee romance that I know I've waited for, because some of us are missing Finchel.
Actually,
It's definitely building, though.
Yeah.
From where it started off.
I actually missed Finchel tonight too.
I know. I was so excited. Thrilled.
As much as I think that this new sexy relationship with Brody is great for Rachel and her growth, like today when we were seeing that back and forth between her Rachel then and Rachel now, I was getting very nostalgic about that old relationship, because that's when she was just that sweet Rachel that, you know, just wanted nothing more to be on Broadway and be with Finn and have this like pure, amazing life with him.
Yeah, I think that that's been the most interesting part of this season, is seeing her realize that dreams take, like, she knew that dreams take hard work, but kind of seeing the reality of that dream. When she moved to New York, it hasn't been always smooth sailing. She's had professors get in her way and things like that, where when she was with Finn, it was just a big dream. I'm going to get married, I'm going to be on Broadway, and she didn't see all the limitations of it.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, completely. So should we jump into the performances? Because there were a lot of good ones tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It was a good radio singing night.
it was great, and I
in our
kept being like,
viewing
how did they get rights to these songs? This is so many fun ones. Starting out with Torrin, which I hadn't heard in so long. Rachel sang it. It's by Natalie
Imbruglia.
Imbruglia, and she nailed it. I loved this performance, and it was what we've been talking about all night, that split between the old and the new Rachel.
I love the filmmaking, like the editing, how they shot it, and just like the dichotomy with the two, you know, like the old and the new, and like how there's still conflict, but she's still the same person.
There you go.
Getting a little sample of it.
But like it was so well shot, and, like just filmmaking. Just
It
taking
was. They used a lot of
camera work.
great transitions, and the camera was sort of doing this circular motion on the set, and every time the camera would pan around, she would turn into the then Rachel and then switch back to the now Rachel.
Yeah, and it was just it felt like one of those big Rachel numbers that sometimes we got one a few weeks ago, but it's been a minute, and I feel like we can't get enough of them. Like every week I want one, and we definitely don't get that anymore.
Yeah.
So it was a fun one for me, and I agree, the shooting of it was unbelievable. So cool.
But that's when I was saying earlier in our after show that it was just so apparent that Rachel has changed so much, from her wardrobe to her hair to the way she just like walks and carries herself. That juxtaposition, the back and forth cutting of her before and her now walking through the studio, was crazy to me. And that's when I started getting nostalgic, thinking about Finchel and thinking about her in McKinley Halls, and now here she is, she's come so far.
Even the way she spoke, like old Rachel was very like tight, like crisp, and like in her speaking, like very uptight, very clipped and whatnot. And then and like now this new Rachel, she's like slower and like more loose, I guess.
Yeah, I have to give it to Leah Michele. I kept thinking, how difficult would it be to play two characters? I mean, obviously they filmed them separately and made it all work, but just, I would imagine that's so difficult to jump back into something, because it feels like, even though it is the same character, it often feels like two different people, because she's changed so much since her New York self. And I think the first episode of this season was called The New Rachel, in fact. And so it's definitely that she's embraced that, and she did a great job kind of doing both tonight.
And how cool she got to, she was like harmonizing with herself, is what we were laughing about earlier.
Yes, absolutely.
And she got to like pretend she was sitting by herself too on the bed. It was like double vision, but like that was really my dream, because I'm such a huge Leah Michele fan. I was like, now there's two of her, this is awesome.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And the audio mix was very cool on it. And then we had another song which was so much fun, Hot in Here mixed with Centerfold, and I think we were all just like, 7th grade, this is amazing.
Oh,
Nelly
gosh.
and it was Sam, Jake, Ryder, and Kitty all doing the performance, which was a great group, and it was one of the most fun performances I feel like we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
And they were all working out too.
Yeah.
One of those high pace,
Yeah.
fast,
fast
paced and high energy.
We don't usually get to see the Glee boys in their
No.
boxers and stuff.
It's true. It's true. And they did. It was a big dance number, and they kind of pulled it all off, and it was really fun to see. And
Yeah,
I feel like
total boy band moment right there for them.
absolutely.
And I loved how like I mentioned the song Centerfold like literally 2 minutes before they actually
you
performed
that
it.
well. Yes.
Like whoa, and
You
they're
have
doing
the Glee
it.
intuition, Marissa.
It was just
You
really
know what's up.
funny.
Yes, exactly. Very nice. And then 1,000 Years, which I think all of us will remember from the last Twilight film. That's at least what
Didn't see it.
immediately popped into my head, because it was over and over again in that film. But Marley and Jake took it on right before they kind of she had that moment of I love you, or I want to tell you I love you. And
There it is. I
There.
love this song so much.
good.
I get so like emo when I listen to this song.
Yeah.
I used to play this on repeat at home on my iTunes and just like
This is a great song.
I feel so in love for some reason.
I loved this number because it was so simplistic. It was literally just them two singing to each other. It was real. It was raw and genuine, and you can feel the real emotions. And like I think they really do love each other.
I hope so. I hope they do love each other, and I love that. I just love the song. It was hard for me to even. Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, and the blend of their voices, it just works so well. The texture of Marley's voice and Jake's is just amazing together.
And we've seen it over and over again. They are such a great pairing together, just vocally, that it's fun. It's fun to watch them, and I'm excited to see that relationship grow a little more. I feel like we kind of jumped from are they together to like we're fully embracing I love you, and so I'm excited to see a little bit more of that, hopefully.
And also with that, I thought it was just so cool. Like they had the band in the back, or I guess it was the strings in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I love how like all of a sudden, even though they're alone in the room at first, whenever the musical number starts, all of a sudden there's like a full band in the background,
It's
right?
the magic of Glee.
It is. And then all these spotlights were coming in the background too, which made for great shots. and
Great
it just-
lighting.
Yeah, it just really added to that big moment for them where you knew that they were about to say, I love you, or at least wanted to.
Yeah, and Jake really almost revealed his feelings in the next song, which is one of my personal favorite songs on the radio right now. It's Let Me Love You by Neo, and I think the full song title is Let Me Love You Until You Learn to Love Yourself. I was intrigued. I never knew that. And Jake did a great job with that one, and Marley looked so in love with him as he was singing it. She did a great job as well in that.
Yeah, and then Ryder, right? Ryder, he knows that Jake wants to say, I love you to Marley, and at the end he kind of tries to give him that little nudge, but at this point during this song, Jake is still a little too nervous to say so
Yeah.
he also cops out.
I loved it
moment.
was the ballad version because Jake is really serious about being in love with Marley, and the Neo version's like more upbeat and more you can dance in the club.
Yeah,
that kind of song.
yeah.
And this is like really serious, straightforward.
I prefer this ballad actually over the
do too.
radio version.
Yeah, I like them both. I always am in my car singing along to it, so it's definitely a fun one for me. I really, really enjoyed his performance. I feel like we don't get to see Jake individually very often, so that was a nice switch.
Especially perform by himself in the Glee
In
room.
the Glee room. It felt like a return to those earlier episodes, because we've kind of exited the Glee room sometimes. We don't always get to be in that room, and so it was nice to kind of go back and be simple. This episode in a lot of ways felt simple to me.
Like that's where it started. It was in the Glee room where all of these kids discovered their voice, and now we're kind of going back to that.
Yeah, and it's really fun. And then the second to last song was Love Song, which is Sarah Bareilles and could not get enough. Rachel, Santana, Quinn, what's not to love about this? It was just the best.
This was actually my favorite of the night.
Yeah, me too.
Because it was our 3 fave gals from the OG seasons, and they're back.
Yeah.
And when they come together, it's just such a cool, like, not Carpenters, but like, you know, like the girl group type of feel, and it's fun.
I like the song, although it's not my favorite of the night. I'd have to say the 1,000 Years was my favorite of the night.
That's a good.
I mean, it was a great number.
I mean, yes, I agree. I loved it. I can't pick a favorite tonight, actually. I've had a little trouble with the song selection. I enjoy their performances, but it wasn't always my favorite songs. And this week they really hit a lot of my favorites, so that was definitely very fun. And then ended the night on such a high note, which is This Is the New Year, and it's the song that we started out the show with. A really fun, big New Directions number. The only thing that made me sad was we didn't have Kurt, Rachel, or Finn in the number, and I just wanted them there. I knew it would make no sense to have them. Like, they're in New York, and he's the teacher, but I just desperately
They
wanted
can't
it.
have Finchel together yet.
I know.
Not yet.
Patience.
Stringing that along.
Now, this performance, it was different than the others of the night because it was removed from the story plot, and it was kind of shot like a music video.
Right.
Yes.
So it was kind of in this, I think, like a sepia or like off-tone colored shoot. And they were in these little pods, like groups of them together in their little scenes as they're singing this song, and it was just so cute. Like Brittany was with Lord Tubbington in it, you know, hugging her cat.
It felt like everyone together, and it reminded me of like back when I'm trying to remember Quinn and Sam sang together, and those kinds of numbers where it was just these big, like, kind of. Back in the day, those kinds of big numbers. I loved it.
You know, I honestly have never heard of this song, but I was listening to the lyrics, and it totally wrapped up the whole episode. And some of the lines were like, "Be not afraid of who you are," and they were all like, well, most of the Glee members were, you know, afraid of their bodies and had a lot of insecurity. So it just like touched on everything throughout this episode.
Right.
I just couldn't have. Yeah.
A good closer for the night.
Exactly. And we should jump into some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Give us the news stuff.
So, a little fun stuff. Jonathan Groff, who, if you remember, was a guest star on Glee, and he also was in Spring Awakening with Lea Michele. They talked to him on a red carpet, and he mentioned how he thinks that Lea Michele and Corey Monteith make a great couple, and super cute because he's also one of Leah's closest friends.
Aww.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Well, we agree with Jonathan.
Exactly. We totally agree.
We agree.
And also, Lea Michele and Corey Monteith made one of their first red carpet appearances together this weekend at the SAG Awards, and she was wearing a gorgeous, I believe, red dress, or actually pink dress, excuse me.
Oh, yes,
They
I saw
were
that.
all there. You know, I was watching the SAG Awards, and there was this one interview, and it wasn't with them, but I noticed like Blake Jenner in the background. I was like, oh, there's the Glee people.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was maybe during the Mark Salling interview.
Yes.
I'm not sure. And
Yeah,
it was
it was
hilarious. And I was just like, oh, I spot all the Glee. And they were all
There's all
like
the Glee
chatting
people.
together.
Loved it.
It was really fun. And the SAG Awards were great as well. But also a little insider info. This weekend, I had 2 random Glee cast sightings, I guess you can say. I was out for Dine LA week, which is a big thing here in LA. And at Bazaar, which is in the SLS Hotel here in LA. And I saw Diana Agron, and then later on that weekend, I was also at Fig and Olive and saw Chris Colfer out before the SAG Awards on Sunday. So really fun, and Fig and Olive's a restaurant. If you guys watch, President Obama always has his fundraisers in LA there, so it's a nice, fun place, and good to see them out and about supporting LA restaurants.
Yeah. What are the odds that you'd see 2 Glee cast members in
I would
one
never
weekend?
have expected it. A friend works for the city, and I was out with her, and really fun.
That's awesome.
So very cool. And also Jacob Artist, a little behind the scenes info for tonight's episode. He talked about how difficult he put on the pumpkin outfit tonight. and he was saying how it was so embarrassing, but they were all in it together, and it just made me feel like, oh, it's definitely like real life Glee Club. They're all in it together. The cast supports each other, so it's really nice to hear that as well.
That was really
That
funny.
was a poofy outfit.
Yeah.
It was a poofy outfit.
To go back and watch that.
I know, and I think somebody else had a heart over certain areas, and yeah, it was definitely yes, trying to see all of that. Definitely. So want to do predictions?
And now, your AfterBuzz TV.
Oh shoot.
Sarah is a little behind on her predictions, clearly. I think I'm gonna go with a prediction about the roommate situation because it's a tough one. You saw Kurt being a little upset that Brody was naked in their apartment, and understandably so. I think that that's gonna come to a head in the next few episodes, and it may lead Rachel to question her relationship with Brody if Kurt gets upset enough, because Kurt's always been there for her, and I feel like if your best friend starts to question your relationship, that can sometimes at least put questions in your own mind or kind of make you rethink the relationship. So maybe there will be some drama there.
All right. I'm gonna go with the regionals predictions. Now
Ooh,
that
I like
they are accepted going to regionals, and I think there's going to be, of course, there's going to be drama about who's gonna do the like lead songs or who's gonna get their solos. So I think there's gonna be a lot of drama.
Any
in the
prediction
choir room.
on who will get the lead?
It's gonna be Marley. Yeah, I think it's gonna be Marley.
But I think there's gonna be a rift between the senior boys and like Jake and Ryder, like who's gonna get the solo on that end.
After the performance tonight, the Neo performance, I feel like Jake is definitely gonna have a big part in it. We'll see though. And Sarah?
I'm gonna go back to the Sam Blaine conversation, and I think it's just, even though Blaine is being a genuine friend to Sam, I think you can really see his deeper feelings for him building, and I think it's gonna come to a point where all of that building is just gonna explode onto Sam, and there's gonna be that real thing that they have to confront now, like, oh crap, my friend actually has feelings for me. What are we gonna do with this?
That's gonna be, I feel like, very painful
And
for
then we're gonna
everyone
see where
involved.
the bromance goes from there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for watching. We love having these conversations. Let us know what you think. You can follow AfterBuzz on Twitter at AfterBuzz TV. You can follow me at Stephanie Wenger.
You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Sarah with an H Mendoza.
Yes, awesome. Woohoo.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later, Gleeks!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.